When it comes to division, if I say 100 divided by 5, can you come up with a word problem? Of course, we know it's 20. What is the word problem that would result in that calculation as the answer? A nice little exercise that, I wish we could do more of is come up with your own word problem to which that is the answer. Hold on. You have 100 apples.
And you need to disperse it against.
Ooh, disperse. I like it. Can I spell disperse? I hope so.
Disperse it between 5 kids in the preschool.
Is that how you talk to Timmy? Disperse it. Between 5. I was listening. I was focusing.
5 kids in the school.
Sure. Kids. Blah, blah, blah. And then the question part of the word problem?
Will
How many?
Will there be enough to disperse evenly?
I think you're running with this disperse. Dispersing is clouding your simplicity. How many apples does each? Whoops.
What is the original?
All right. Is everyone happy with that? No, you're not happy with it?
No.
Oh. Is everyone happy with the intuitive interpretation of that division sentence? I didn't say it was hard. I just want to be clear. But this shows that the 100 is what we have. And we're trying to split this into 5 groups. There's another variation, though, which I prefer. It's okay. The alternative is you have 100, whatever, and you're trying to make groups of 5. How many groups can you make? Or how many times does 5 fit into 100? Both of those are valid. It's just whichever one helps us the most. I think the second one helps me the most when it comes to fractions. Yes. It's not that the first one is wrong, but if I go intuitively, the second one feels a little more intuitive to me. Oh no, but it's the same thing. I have 100 apples. I need to give kids 5 apples each. How far can I go? How many? Yeah, I can only fit in 5. So there's no practical difference in the complexity. It's just another spin on the same thing. I just didn't fill in the whole thing.
Oh, no, I wasn't.
So you can totally make it apples or whatever and disperse it, but you can only disperse groups of 5. So you can still get your dispersal in there. I hear packing up noises, yet we have 6 minutes. Strange. I'm committing to staying now. Sorry. I'm just keep going with it. No, not too much. This is the only part. So now whether we have I get a little emotional about division. Whether I have 100 divided by 5 or, let me cheat and look at the next question. 5/6 divided by a quarter. What's the difference? The nice thing about division, those can be mixed numbers. I don't even care. It's the same one concept. It's that grouping concept. So only multiplication has this weird multiple interpretations. It doesn't even matter what these numbers are. It's always the same. So here, so this one is that interpretation. This one would mean I have, which one do I have? I have the first number in division. In the division sentence, It's the first number that's the quantity I have. Multiplication is the second. I have 5 sticks of whatever, loaf of bread. I am making groups of what is wrong with me? It's beautiful. Making groups of 1/4 of a loaf of bread. There's a reason this is last. Of a whole.
Is it how many groups of a whole, or is it how?
How many groups of a quarter fit into what I have?
Yeah, so not fit into a whole.
No.
Fit into 5 or 6.
Yes. That's the next line. No? I'm making groups of this size. This is the group size. And I want to refer to group size and all those things. How many, I'm going to go with times. How many times can I fit it in? Can it fit in to what we have? Meaning the 5/6. That's all we're going to do. We're not going to actually do a question. I want to get the wording of the division calculation. That is the first example. So we'll then actually draw rectangles and see what it means in the detail. Right now, just try and get those 3 lines. I have the first quantity. I'm making groups of the second one. And I'm trying to fit it in how many times. So we said that when we look at the division concept intuitively, we are looking at our first number being what we have. So this will be 14.95 over 6 divided by 1/4. So we have the first number. That's the quantity we have. And we're trying to fit groups of 1/4 of a rectangle into what we have. And the answer is the number of times we can fit that in. So what we have is to be represented, whoopsie, like that. Let's make it nice and big. Nice and big. So I'm breaking it up into 6 slices, like so, and indicating in pink what I have to work with. I have 5 of them. That's nice. 5 of them. Now I have to figure out, well, what is 1/4 of a whole rectangle? That is my group size, I'll call it. But how does that relate to the rectangle? Well, I have to find a common denominator again. So I'm going to break it horizontally into 4 slices. Now 1/4 of a whole rectangle is 1 row. And that would, oops, not of, or of. 1 row of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little pieces. Just in general. I'm not taking from what I have. I'm just trying to make sense of how big is 1/4 of this whole loaf of bread in general. It consists of 6 little rectangles. So I'm making groups of 6 from what I have. So from the pink, I'm making groups of 6. So let's count the groups maybe in blue. Zoom in. So groups of 6, so there's a group of 6. So that'll be once. Doesn't matter how the group looks, as long as I'm counting groups of 6. There I have 3 with the top 3. That is another group. That's my second group. And I just fit it in whatever comes to mind first. There's a group of 6, giving me my third grouping, and I have some left over. So it doesn't matter exactly how you group them, as long as they are 6 at a time. So the group of 6 fits in to what we have 3 times. 3 whole times I can fit in that group with 2 little pieces left over. 2 of the pink pieces are not in a group, in a blue group, right? 2, yeah. So I'm making groups, and I have 2 little guys left over that aren't in a group, because it's not enough for a group. Now here is the part that people struggle with a little bit. So my answer is going to be 3 whole times and then a little fraction. Right? How many times can I fit in the groups? 3 whole times. And how much of a group can I make with the leftovers? Well, my group size is 6. I have 2 little pieces available. So 2/6 of a group I can fit in. It's not a whole group, it's a fraction of a group. But it's relative to the group size. Then after that, if you simplify, that's your business. It's not. I don't want to stand between you and simplifying fractions. But that is not the goal here, so you leave it in whatever form the numbers give you. So division is maybe a little different. Zoom out. Any questions on that? Yeah. The whole rectangle. That, yes, because I'm just trying to relate what is 1/4. And just in general, there's always an attached piece of a whole rectangle. So how many little squares does that even make? So that I can get my group size and then relate that group size to what I actually have in this case. Because another number divided by 1/4, the group size is still, well, no. If I had something else over 6, my pink would change, but the group size would still be the same. Yes? It's our first example, right?
So the blue, like you said, three of what can fit in?
My group size can fit in 3 times completely. I like to think of it as times I can fit it in. So my group size, my group is a 6 square grouping, little squares. I have to make groups of 6. How many times can I do that? But it's not what I have. I only have pink ones. The end ones there that are white, I never had them. So I can't fit it into something I don't have. So what I have does come into play eventually, just not with the group size. The first quantity is what I have available, and then I'm splitting that up according to the group size. One more, and we'll see. Maybe it gets a little better. It's different. And we leave it until the end because it is the most difficult one, arguably. So the second one is 1/5 divided by 2/3. People get a little uncomfortable when the second number is bigger than the first. But if I just follow the intuitive process of what division is telling me, which starts with having the first quantity, I just happen to not have a lot. So I only have a little bit of a loaf of bread. It's not a lot. But I divide it into 5 ideally equal. That's not equal at all. Over here maybe. 5 equal vertical slices. Try and make them close to the same size. And then, let's go pink. Pink is what I have. I don't have a lot. Not a lot of bread for me. That's all I have. Now, I'm trying to see how many times can I fit in 2/3 of a whole rectangle. Well, let me just figure out what 2/3 of a whole, not of what I have, represents. That's going to be my group size. That means I need to go thirds horizontally to be able to relate that to my pink next. So 2/3 will be 2 rows, and that'll have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 10. 10 little squares. That's my group size. So just because I don't have enough originally doesn't mean I can't try and fit it in. But because I have so few pink ones, I can't fit it in even one whole time. I can only fit in a fraction of a group size, of the group size. So we can fit 10, let's say here specifically a group of 10 squares into what we have, 0 times. And then we have 3 pink ones left over. So make it pink. Of what we have, we still have 3 guys left over. I didn't have enough to fit in the group even once. I still tried, but I just didn't have enough. I have 3 left over. How much of my group can I fit then? What fraction of my group can I fit? 3/10. Or you can say I can fit my group, I can fit the group of 10 into what I have. Let me rephrase that. I can fit 3/10 of the group into what I have. So it's a little bit of a tricky, a little more tricky conceptually because you tend to think of having a lot and breaking it up into groups. In this case, I didn't have a lot, but the intuitive way of looking at it still works. Any questions on that? In the next one, we're going to have a lot more. So we'll fit in many, many. But it doesn't have to, yeah. How I get to 10?
Yeah, sorry, I just...
So the 2/3 of a whole rectangle is what my group size really is. But how does that relate to the actual rectangle that I have? Well, I'm splitting it up into thirds, into 3 rows. 2/3 means take 2 of the 3 rows. And each row consists of 5, so 10 squares make up. No, the thirds would be rows. Yes. It's a mix of the two to get the little squares. And however you want to write it, adding more words or fewer words, I would just recommend always doing the same thing. If you write certain sentences, always write those sentences. So figure out how much you feel you need to write, and then just stick to that. Next one will be maybe a little more intuitive in the sense that I have a lot to start with. I have 2 1/4 loaves of bread. That's a lot of bread. So I have a lot of rectangles to draw. I'm try and fit them in one go. Let me squeeze it closer here. Try and fit them in all together. I think it can be done. Like that. So I'm going to split everything up into 4 pieces. Since I'm going to fit groups into all of it, so I'm going to have to split them up anyway. No loaf is going to be left alone. Then I color in what I have. This is my amount that I'm writing. You can add to it, you can take away from it, as long as it still makes sense to the general reader. 2 whole loaves and 1/4 of a loaf. Now I go and figure out, well, I'm trying to make groups of 2/3. So 2/3 of a whole is going to be my group size. But what does that mean for these rectangles? I'm going to have to go thirds to be able to relate them. I was going to go straight through. Why not? So that means, again, 2 rows of the 3. So that would mean just of a whole rectangle. Look at any rectangle you want. It will be 8. 8 little squares. That is my group size. It's just in reference to a rectangle, not any specific rectangle, completely independent of what I have. Now I look at what I have and fit the groups of 8 little squares in. But luckily I have a lot, so there is something to do, unlike the other one, which was a little weird. So I'm going to go blue just so I can see it. So I'm fitting in groups of 8. Okay, so that'll be 6, so I can make 8 like this. Once, that's 1 fitting. Then I have 4 available over here. Jump over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I need to dip into the next one, maybe like that. That'd be my second one. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 8. Then here I have 4 and another 4. Oh, that works out well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 3 times. And I don't have enough left over. Only 3 left over. Everyone happy with the fitting? And you fit them however you want to fit them. You're still going to have 3 left over, one way or the other. So, back to my black here. We can fit this in, can fit it in 3 times with 3 pink squares left over. Pink. Of what I have, 3 are left over. So, because my group size is 8, I can say that I can fit this in 3 whole times, and then another 3/8 of a group can fit. So the answer is 3 and 3/8. So doing it a few times, it should become much easier, hopefully. Any questions on that? Okay, one more. Why not? Where we have a mixed number and the second one's bigger than the first. So let's see. I need to get away from this topic so that the quiet can stop. 7/8 divided by 1 2/3. Oh, it's going to be fun. So I have my first quantity that I want to visualize. Let me know if you at any point do not like this one. Apart from the splitting it up into 8s, that's already annoying. It's going to be really tiny slices. thin slices. Now let's indicate what I have. I have 7 of the 8 slices. Like so. And now I'm trying to fit in 1 2/3 of a loaf of bread. Now here's where you can let me know 1 2/3 of a whole. I'll put it in brackets because that's a mixed number. It's really it's more than a loaf of bread. It's more than 1 whole. It's 1 and then another 2/3 of a whole, which I don't see here, but that is my group size. Now you can do it somewhere else and figure out how many pieces will this be. Or I can just extend this to see 2 loaves of bread. Downside, I have to split this one up as well. I don't have it. I just want to visualize my group size. And based on what I had originally, it wasn't enough of a drawing to visualize this 1 2/3. So the thirds part of it tells me I need to split this up horizontally into 3 horizontal slices. Now I can visualize 1 2/3. And that has got nothing to do with the pink. Some people struggle with that a little bit because I see the pink, I must do something with the pink. No, later, not yet. Because this 1 2/3 as a representation has got nothing to do with pink. It is all of this. So let's write it out. All 24 little squares from 1 whole rectangle with another 2 rows of the 3 rows, and that would give me 16. So together I have 40 little rectangles, little squares. Let's call them squares. And that is my group size. If you don't ask any questions, we're going to be done way too early. This is all I have planned. Yes?
Do we have to shade any of the other one in?
I prefer not to because then I maybe get confused between what I have and everything. I just need to figure out how many pieces are in my group. That's all I need to figure out. So it's up to you. I feel it's a little more confusing if I start to color other things in, when all I need to do is count 1 2/3 of a loaf of bread. But coming from the multiplication, I know that there's a mix of 1 whole rectangle, the 24, and then 2 out of the 3 rows of the second one, which would give me the 16. But if you need to use more color to keep track of that, it's totally fine. Because of my practice from multiplication, it feels not too bad for me. Any other questions on getting that 40? I see frowns. We need to be super comfortable with fractions, right? Because if there are 2 things that elementary school is known for in terms of difficulty, it's word problems and fractions. Now we're going to address the word problems soon, but right now we're on fractions. So you have to come in being super excited about fractions, knowing that there is nothing that little Timmy can ask me that is going to show any fear or doubt or anxiety of any kind. Because you show a little bit, and in their mind, that's all they ever see. But let me know how you feel. So, group size of 40, what do I have? Let me just say here what I have. I have only 21. I only have 21 pink squares. That's not enough for even one group of 40. So I can fit it in 0 times with 21 little pink squares left over because I've used nothing. So when I feel it's a little more confusing, these numbers and how they relate, I write down more sentences. So my answer in the end, why is my pen so thin suddenly? Is what? 21 over 40. I think I accidentally changed it randomly. There it's back. The thin pen indicates how my comfort level is getting thinner. But there's no more. We've done all 4. There's nothing else. And the nice thing about division versus multiplication is there's no variation. Both numbers can be mixed numbers. One number can be mixed, the other one not. It's always the same. Whereas with multiplication, if that first number is a mixed number or not, then it changes a little bit because there are 2 intuitive interpretations of multiplication. That's not the case for division at all. Oh, we didn't have one? Yeah, sure, let's make one up. And then I wonder if we should revisit multiplication a little bit. Nothing else is planned. If you're super comfortable with multiplication, you are free to go. I just thought usually the division takes much longer than this. It's either a good thing or a very bad thing that we went so fast. Not sure. Yeah.
At what point would you switch from teaching in an intuitive way to where you start learning?
One of two, I would say. Either the numbers get bigger and drawing them is just not going to work anymore. Then I don't have a choice. Or it's so simple for them, they just get sick of having to go through all of it. Then you're ready to just move on. This is so trivial, so obvious. Why do I have to keep drawing this? Then, okay, fine.
But you also
Yeah.
subtraction.
It's much more gradual than what we're doing, yeah. Usually, I think it's the first one, that whether they're ready or not, the numbers get bigger, so we're going to have to. Yeah, it's not paced. Because the pacing's individual, and you can't cater to everyone. So usually, they get the shortcut, they don't really understand what they're doing, but they know how to get the answer, and hopefully that's enough in the system we have. So it's usually the first one, yeah. The downside to that is that they just start making up their own rules and patterns, like this one, 16 over 64. I see 2 6s, I cancel the 6s, and it's 1 over 4. It is 1 over 4. You can't just cancel digits. But because I get the right answer, why? Yeah, but it's a very special situation. But trying to convince them that, oh, it only works for this one, and it's just sort of a fluke, no, they saw a shortcut. Nothing you say will stop them from now on. It's tricky, I don't know, it's all psychological. Okay, it is. Like, I've decided, or I'm convinced that I cannot remember a lot of historical dates. I go into a history course, I've already failed. To a large degree. It's all a mental game. It is. Don't know how to overcome it, but it still is. Okay, well, pick not too big a mixed number. Let's go, what? 2 and a what? Quarter. Divided by, let's go 1. 2/3. But we've been splitting it horizontally into thirds now a lot. But then this is the same. Okay, let's change the other one. Okay, well, hold on. I don't want the same denominator. That raises questions of why do I even need to do this? Because it's the same. So let's make it, let's make it simple, make it half. Why not? So I start with what I have, which is a lot. So hopefully I'll be able to fit in some of my group once I figure out how big my group is. Luckily, we've been splitting it up into eighths and all kinds of stuff. Halves are so nice right now. Then pink for what I have. Whole loaf of bread, another whole one, and half of the last one. So now, oh, what did I just do? I'm still in pink. Yeah. So, my group size corresponds to 1 3/4. But what is that? I need to split this up into 4 slices so I can relate that to my rectangles. So that would be a whole rectangle. I don't see the pink at all right now. A whole rectangle of 8 with another 3/4 of a rectangle. So 3 out of 4 rows would be 6 for a total of 14. So some people like to draw that completely separately because they can't not see the pink. If you can manage to not see the pink while looking directly at it, then I just recycle I just need to visualize a rectangle. It doesn't matter if I look at the ones I already have or new ones, it's the same rectangle. Any questions on the 14?
How did you tell that?
Do you see the pink? No, you don't see the pink. There is no pink for the next minute. That's the trick. And if it helps, draw the same thing somewhere else. I don't see any pink. On a scrap piece of paper, you're trying to represent 1 3/4. So I need to have my halves, of course, because I'm going to go back to the original, and then quarters horizontally. And maybe coloring it something else is going to work for you. Let's maybe do blue. That's going to be 1 whole rectangle and another 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows of the 4. How many do I have? 8 there, 6 there, 14. Maybe that helps. So whatever you're going to do, just always do that. Because it could be confusing going from the looking at the top one. Yeah, you're not the only one that feels like that. So maybe a completely separate new representation of your second number just to figure out how many pieces it contains. So this is a side note. Side note. Now I figured out it's 14, so I'm going to make groups of 14. Maybe blue, because that's exactly the group size. 14, oh, that's a lot. That's going to be all of this rectangle, which contains 8, and then another 6, which I'll just do whatever comes first, like that. Oops, that was a little too high. Once. Is that 14? Yeah. And then clearly I don't have a lot left. Definitely not 14. So I can only fit this group in once. So let's write that down. That can fit into what we have one time. And then we have how many pink ones left over? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One time, 6 pink ones left over. Pink. Specifically of what we had, 6 are left over. So my answer therefore is 1 6/14 of a group can fit. So when in doubt, do more. Draw something, write more, whatever you need to do.
Please remember to click the like button if you enjoyed the video and to subscribe if you want to be notified of more videos. Thank you.